Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marcagiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio, where we provide actionable health information on a week-to-week basis that can help you improve your life. Feel free to head over to justinhealth.com, where we have various opt-in video series on more in-depth health topics such as female hormones, thyroid, and gut health. Also, while you're there, feel free and schedule a consult with myself, Dr. J, and or my colleagues. We're available worldwide to provide natural health support for any of your major health issues. Again, welcome to the podcast and enjoy the show. And we are live. It's Dr. J here in the house with Evan Brand. Evan, how was your weekend, man?
Hey, man, it was pretty good. It was interesting. Of course, we went out to various stores and saw everything wiped out. And I'm sure people don't need any more reminders that the stores were wiped out of toilet paper. And that was really it. Just did the normal thing with the kids. So it was great.
That's excellent, man. Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of social distancing because of the coronavirus. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I think the media and the hysteria has blown this out of proportion. You know, we have to compare these pandemic issues to previous pandemics to compare reaction. Do we have symmetry in previous reactions, right? And if we look at swine flu H1N1 in 2009, we had over 1,000 people in this country die from that. I think even more than that. I think over 100,000 in the world. I think we're only at how many thousand people have died of this so far? 6,000 have died. And swine flu, we're over 100,000. And we had over 1 million people in this country with it, and we only have, I think, 3,500 and change. Now, number two is the big reason why I think it's not going to be as big of a deal is I'm reading lots of anecdotes on people that have had flu-like illnesses over a month ago, and that were tested at the ER or at their doctor's office, and it came back negative for flu. So my personal intuition, right, knowledge guided by experience, is that this virus has been around a lot longer than we know. Chinese government doesn't have the best reputation of being transparent to the U.S. government, so I don't expect the December timeline of when everything kind of came to fruition with this virus as being the correct timeline based on previous experience. So I think this virus has been around a lot longer. It's a lot of anecdote response of people over a month ago having viruses that were flu-like, that were deeper respiratory based, and that did not come back positive for the flu. So I think it's been around a lot longer. I think the incident rate is a lot higher than we know. And so I think over time, as the testing gets better, we're going to see more people positive, and that's going to drive down the mortality rate, right? Because people aren't messing up the death rate. The death rate's the death rate. It's hard to ignore a person that dies, and they're going to get tested and assessed for a virus. So you're not going to mess that up. But what you're going to mess up is the incident rate. Because if you don't have strong enough symptoms or that risk factor history, no one's going to get you a test. And based on where the testing is limited right now, I think the incident rate's a lot higher than what we think it is. Story on NBC last week, guy gets coronavirus, I think at the Princess Diamond cruise ship. Well, his wife in the same quarters as him didn't even get it. And part of the immune response, we're going to talk about this here, I'm going to do a YouTube video on it today, is the coronavirus is actually an RNA-based virus, okay? So most viruses, they're DNA-based. So what happens is this little virus comes in and it sticks itself to your cell and penetrates into the cell. And it sticks itself actually using these little corona-like clubs, hence the name coronavirus. And then it uses the ACE inhibitor, the ACE pathway, which is the same pathway that a lot of the ACE inhibitor blood pressure drugs use, and they transmit the RNA inside the virus to inside the cell. And that creates what's called a cytokine storm or an interleukin storm, and then that's where the initial flu symptoms actually come from. They don't come from the virus, they come from your immune response to the virus. And so then what happens there is then you start to have the symptoms. The problem is a lot of people who have a strong immune response or have a really good healthy cell membrane because of adequate vitamin A, that virus literally just bounces off the person. It doesn't even get to drip the RNA into the cell. And so because of that, you're not going to really be able to detect an immune response to that person because there isn't even an antibody response to it. The body just deflected it off. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting.
So like to look at it, an immune response, you'd have to have that virus invade. Then your immune system makes that antibody response to it and kills it. But what if that virus can't even storm the castle wall? Does that make sense?
Yep.
And that's part of why so many people who've gotten the virus don't even have any symptoms, meaning they got exposed to it, but they got no symptoms at all. And that's part of the theory that, I've been postulating and other people have been postulating too.
Well, regardless of what it's going to turn out to be, we still want to be helpful in whatever way we can to people. So today's podcast is about antiviral herbs and nutrients that we could use. All of these have studies on them. And of course, we can't say specifically in the research, hey, astragalus has been found to be antiviral against this specific coronavirus,
Correct.
but it's been specifically shown against influenza, and there's other types of viruses that we
Correct.
have in these studies here. So it's not going to be 100% this herb for this virus, but if we can just assume that some of the same mechanisms are going on, then these herbs should still be helpful, and they're not going to hurt. Put it to you that way.
Exactly. And people will talk about, the fact that, the flu virus has been around for a long time, but at the same standpoint, they're still tweaking the vaccine every year because there is mutations that happen. And part of what goes on with the flu vaccine is 80% of the time it's wrong because we're basing it off of the type of flu strains that happened in Asia the season before. And that's where we kind of predict the strains that we should adjust the vaccine to this year. And they're wrong 80% of the time. So we know that there's some mutation that happens, right? And so the coronavirus isn't the first one. We got exposed to that with SARS, which is sudden acute respiratory syndrome, and MERS, which is Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. So those are two other coronaviruses. This is COVID-19, so 19 other ones similar. So let's kind of just dive into, we already talked about what's happening in regards to the immune response. So the things that we're trying to support is, number one, the body's healthy immune response to it, and in a way modulating the immune response so we don't become more sick or more symptomatic because of an inappropriate immune response. I already addressed how cytokines and interleukins can actually make us feel kind of crappy, which is good because we want to feel a little bit crappy so we kind of stop and rest and sleep more, right? But we don't want to feel so bad that our immune response is actually worse than the virus. So I want to kind of draw a line in between nutrients that support our immune system and herbs that enhance and support and stimulate our immune system. So let's draw a line. So some of the big nutrients that I can think of off the bat in our top 10 list is zinc. So zinc's a really important one. It's going to be found in a lot of animal products, nuts, seeds, seafood, and that's going to have a major effect on our immune system. And it's going to have an effect on testosterone. It's going to have an effect on testosterone and hydrochloric acid and our hormones. It plays a very vital role. We have what's called zinc fingers, which affects our DNA. Adequate levels of zinc have a major effect on our epigenetics and our DNA. So zinc would probably be our number one, I think, on the nutrient side. Anything else you want to highlight on zinc or anything else?
No, I would say that vitamin C is probably going to be number 2, though.
Yep.
If that wasn't your number 2.
I agree. They're actually doing studies on COVID-19 and vitamin C right now in China as we speak. So that is something that's real, and they're actually looking at that already. And we know that they're buying lots of vitamin C for a lot of these reasons preventatively. So we know intuitively something's happening there. I'm going to be very curious to see what the study pans out over the next couple of months on this.
Yep. I don't think this is going to be in the nutrient category, but it's kind of both, right? Because it is sort of an immune support, but it also does modulate things, and it would be astragalus root. And I personally stay on astragalus pretty much year-round, but I go higher dosing in the spring and summertime in case I get tick bites. But there's been some studies shown that when it comes to the herpes simplex virus, HSV1, it was found to inhibit that virus. Another study showed that it inhibits the RNA replication that you were talking about. So it seems like it has a multi-benefit. Like it can be an adaptogen for the immune system, but it also can help inhibit replication of viruses.
Yeah, modulates the interleukin response and actually helps stimulate the natural killer cell response, which is really important. That's the first line of invaders. That's part of the reason why some of these viruses bounce off people, because they have a really good Th1 immune response, and these invaders can't even kind of set up shop to begin with.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Olive leaf. I love olive leaf. You and I
want to continue hitting some of the nutrients. So,
all right, go ahead.
Let's do N-acetylcysteine. We talked about this last week in particular, but N-acetylcysteine is an amino acid, and it's also going to help with glutathione. So N-acetylcysteine is going to help with respiratory issues, mucus. It's going to support the lungs. N-acetylcysteine will also help with glutathione. And we know low glutathione is correlated to weaker immune response, inability to detoxify, and glutathione actually helps with lung health. So we know NAC is vital for glutathione, and then that's also going to make a huge difference on the lungs and the respiratory system. And NAC is also shown to be very helpful to decrease viral replication. So once the DNA of that virus invades your cell, it's going to replicate. And if it's replicating and we can put things in there to hit the brakes on that viral replication, that's going to help our immune system catch up.
Yep. We could go into nutrients forever. I'm just thinking now, my head's spinning. Vitamin A, higher dose vitamin A could be critically important. Higher dose vitamin D could be critically important. Maybe 10,000 IU for most people would be just fine for vitamin D. We always like to have K1 and K2 added to it. The funny thing is, a lot of the things we're talking about, you and I do these all the time anyway for people. It's not like it's a different protocol. It's just this is kind of the baseline stuff. Like we use glutathione NAC combo all the time. Now it just becomes a bit more important, and vitamin D, for example, has been shown to reduce the risk of flu, other respiratory infections, including pneumonia, which, as you mentioned last time we talked about this, that's one of the main mechanisms that people are getting really, really ill, is when it progresses to a point of pneumonia. So vitamin D alone has been shown to reduce the risk of that.
Yeah, so let me go back and hit vitamin A according to what some of the research says, or zinc, I should say. Zinc is very helpful for modulating the Th1 immune response. It helps modulate cytokine production and B lymphocytes, which a lot of times B cells are going to be the antibodies that we make. It also helps to decrease cell replication of the DNA of the virus, which is very helpful. And it also helps with apoptosis. So it helps with programmed cell death, which is very important, right? We want to keep a lot of these cells from replication, right? The more they replicate, the more it's going to put more stress on our immune system to kill them. So that's really important. And then we also know the more zinc deficiency occurs, the harder it is to decrease replications. We know zinc plays a big role. And then vitamin A is really important because, number one, vitamin A plays a major, major role with the cell membrane. It makes that cell membrane stronger. And let's just say, imagine like the cell membrane is kind of like the castle wall. It makes it harder for invaders like viruses to get into the cell. So adequate vitamin A is going to really help make that cell membrane nice and strong and more impervious to things coming in. Vitamin A also has an inflammatory role. It protects the epithelium. It protects the mucous membrane. So if the mucous membrane is stronger, that's going to prevent invaders from getting in that way. It also has an anti-inflammatory role. It's going to modulate cytokines as well. So a lot of really, really, really important things vitamin A is going to help. So zinc, vitamin A, we already talked about N-acetylcysteine and its effects on viral replication and glutathione and mucus and lung health. And then you mentioned vitamin D. And vitamin D makes a natural antibiotic called cathelicidin, which is antibacterial. It's going to modulate Th1 and Th2 immune response by helping the T regulatory cells. And overall, it's going to just be supporting the immune system. Anything else you want to highlight on vitamin D, Evan?
I mentioned the K1, K2. I don't know if it would have any role in immune health, but we often use it together. So I would just say if you're out looking at the store for a combo, the combo product is generally going to provide more value across the board than just a standard D3. And if you could go for something that's going to be like a soft gel or even a liquid, I've seen a lot of really low quality vitamin D supplements that are in tablets with a lot of fillers and binders. So, keep in mind the nutrient is not just the important part. You want to make sure you're getting quality and try to use stuff that doesn't have a bunch of extra garbage added to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'd also say lysine is a big one. We see it with herpes viruses, but it's been very, very helpful to modulate immune response. It helps deactivate a lot of the herpes viruses. It definitely plays a strong role in enhancing and strengthening the immune system. And it also helps with upregulating antibodies. So that B cell antibody, the B cells that make your IgG, IgA, IgM, those antibodies are going to be strongly enhanced with L-lysine. And so it's very, very helpful at modulating the immune system. And so the big, I think, nutrients that I would kind of highlight here, because we want to draw a line between nutrients and herbs, I would say vitamin A as in apple, vitamin D as in dog, vitamin C as in cat, zinc. We could throw L-lysine in there. And was there anything? And then zinc. I think, did we hit all 5 or 6? Whether 6 or 5. A, D, C, zinc, NAC. I think that's it. Those are the big
Yeah.
five. Anything else you want to add there, Evan?
We could do plenty more, but I think that's definitely enough nutrients. I'm excited to talk about the herbs. Those are the
Go
things
ahead.
I think have been more powerful. So the next one after astragalus, I was going to
And just to
mention was,
highlight, we talked about some of these herbs last week. Some will be in overlap.
Yes.
Some will be some new ones. So if you're listening to last week, we're going to amend and update some of these nutrients here in herbs too.
Yep, well said. So I was going into olive leaf. I love olive leaf. We use it all the time. So actually, like part of my Candida protocol, we'll have a couple herb combinations that'll have olive leaf combined with, say, monolaurin. So maybe I just stack those two right on top of each other. Monolaurin is a lauric acid coconut extract. It's been shown to be very, very potent as an antiviral. And olive leaf, the main compound in it, I believe it's pronounced oleopine, and that actually prevents the virus from attaching to the cells. So we kind of talk about mechanisms a lot, and people say, well, why does that matter? Well, because some herbs may prevent the replication of viruses. Things like olive actually prevent the virus from attaching to healthy cells. So if you have multiple herbs, you see you've got multiple mechanisms, you're just making yourself even more resilient. So that's why I'm a huge fan of olive, huge fan of astragalus, monolaurin. Those are probably like my top favorites.
Great. So we hit astragalus. We talked about the a lot of these things are going to help with either immune modulation, natural killer cell, antibody modulation, right? The infantry that comes in afterwards, or it's going to help with viral replication. And then typically it's going to modulate the inflammation from the immune response. Usually it's hitting things in about 3 to 4 different ways. And so most are going to fall into that category. So when you hear like things, that's kind of the mechanism how they're working. Now, cat's claw is a really big one. We use cat's claw or cemento a lot with biofilms. They work really good, right? These are protective shields bacteria and critters use. We also use it with a lot of Lyme and various co-infections, but cat's claw is great at the immune system, helping with viruses, really enhancing the body's ability to deal with infections. And again, everything we're talking about isn't necessarily to treat anything. A lot of the time it's just to support our own immune response to what's happening, because our body is really the ultimate fighter in all of this. Everything we're doing is just trying to give our body's immune system an edge to address the issue to begin with.
I want to just restate what you said, because I think this is the point that many people are missing, which is the body has dealt, and humankind has dealt with viruses for forever. All we're talking about now is what can you do to try to gain the upper hand. It's not that these things are essential. These things are just going to improve your resilience.
100%. So it's important to have the right mindset. A lot of people are selling like cures or solutions, and that's not going to be the case, but it's really going to be our body to begin with. Even antibiotics, when an infection gets cleared, it's still not the antibiotic, right? It's the antibiotic lowering the level of the infection, and then the immune system can kind of come in and play, right? It gives it's like if we're using a lifting analogy, it really gives a very helpful spot when you're kind of low in that bench press. It really gives you that little spot to kind of get it up through that sticking point, for sure.
Yep.
So echinacea will be one of my next favorite ones. And again, when we're doing a lot of these herbs, a lot of times we want to make sure the whole root is present. So a lot of times with echinacea, you'll see a lot of flower present. I want the whole root. I find that has a lot more of the immune modulating alkaloids that really have the immune benefits. So echinacea is excellent in how it reduces virus levels. It inhibits the growth of bacteria, inhibits the growth of viruses. It's also going to modulate with the inflammation caused by that immune response, caused by the cytokines and interleukins. Any comments on echinacea?
And when you're looking at a supplement label, most people listening are probably already expert food label readers and expert supplement label readers, but you should just see in parentheses, it should say something like root or aerial parts, meaning flower. So you want to see something that's like a whole complex.
Yeah, a little bit better. And some have a combination, which is fine too. Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And buy from a reputable company, because when you buy raw material, you can buy the McDonald's version or you can buy the grass-fed local farmer version. Right?
That's
so you
right.
want to buy the highest quality. Cool. Next, oil of oregano. We use oil of oregano a lot when we're dealing with fungal overgrowth, certain gut infections. Really good antimicrobial, antifungal qualities. Also, oil of oregano also has antiviral qualities. I like it a lot. It's going to knock down viruses. The carvacol compound in the oil of oregano is very, 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 very potent, and it's going to have thymol in there and carvacol, which are going to be the main ingredients there. And it's going to have immune modulating benefits as well as killing benefits. It's going to actually help kill parasites, bacteria, and can potentially kill viruses too.
Oregano is amazing. I mean, it's like one of the most broad spectrum. If we ever have a client where, let's say they just have some kind of symptom we can't resolve related to the gut, maybe they had a combination of viruses and bacteria and parasites and fungus all in one. If something doesn't work the first round, we'll come in and do oregano oil, and it really acts as it's the generic spot treatment, I guess you could call it, because it may knock fungus down a little bit. It may knock bacteria, viruses. So, I mean, really, you can't go wrong with it. Well, once again, I think quality is key. So as you mentioned, you do want to make sure you get something standardized for the carvacrol. That way you're getting something that's potent enough to work. A lot of people say, well, I have oil of oregano essential oils. No, that's not the same thing. You're going to want something like what we use, which is going to be an encapsulated version that's much more potent, and we use emulsified olive oil, so that allows it to spread out and hit the whole intestinal tract, as opposed to you putting a drop of oregano oil in your water and drinking it. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, people that use a lot of the oil of oregano essential oils, I had a parasite in Mexico one time, and I actually had an oil of oregano essential oil. The problem with it was I could not get enough down my gullet, down my throat, without burning my throat. Seriously, it was so bad. So if you have it, what you can do is get a nice capsule and pour it into it, and that could be very, very helpful, because it's hard to get enough in your system without burning the crap out of your throat and your upper GI. So having a good encapsulation will be nice. A lot of the capsules you get over the counter will still open up pretty fast, and so you may still feel it in your stomach. A lot of the capsules that we're going to use are going to be a little bit more gelatinous, so it buys more time to actually open up in the small intestine versus the stomach.
Yep.
That's the difference. Yeah. So we hit oil of oregano, we hit astragalus, we hit echinacea, we hit olive leaf. I would say one of the next ones would be silver. I mean, silver has amazing benefits at knocking down viruses and bacteria. Intuitively, we've known this for a long time. That's the reason why we've made our forks and our knives out of silverware. It's because we've known that using these type of things to handle our food actually has decreased food poisoning and had antibacterial, antimicrobial effects on our food. That's why we've used silverware for hundreds of years on our food. And you hear lots of negative stories about silver and a condition called argyria, which is going to be, you turn blue, so to speak. Again, this is not going to happen in high-quality silver products that are, 15 or less part per million. You're not going to see it. A lot of these issues are people consuming silver that is way higher on the part per million side, and a lot of times it's homemade. I've had patients... I've had people tell me, like, yeah, I make my own silver. I get like some sterile silver coins and I put it in a saline solution and I run a current through it. I'm like, holy crap. You have no idea how much silver is in there as a level of parts per million. So if you're consuming silver, make sure you choose a high quality company, and you actually know the parts per million on there, so it's the molecule small enough for your body to still excrete it.
Yeah, and the stuff we're using is not expensive. It's not like silver cost $100 a bottle either. So why people would do that as opposed to just buying a professional brand who does it right, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a naturopath by the name of Dr. David Getoff, and he talked about this one time. And I remember at a conference, he literally took a liter of silver and he just chugged the whole thing on stage. And everyone's like, holy crap. He's like, guys, yeah, in good silver, you're never going to see it being a problem. I was like, all right. And then the next day, he was totally fine. But he consumed a whole liter of silver. That's insane. But yeah, so his premise of it was, it's really just about the quality of silver. It's really about the quality and how big the molecule is.
Yeah, well, I got to run. I've got a contractor that just came over to my house. But that was the last thing I wanted to mention anyway. If you didn't hit it, which was silver.
Great. I'm glad we hit it. And again, for people that are struggling with immune issues or health issues and they want to dive in deeper, Evan and I are in the trenches dealing with patients all the time from all over the world. So Evan's website's evanbrand.com. There'll be a little consult link there. I am Dr. J at justinhealth.com. Feel free to schedule online. We're here to help. And if you enjoyed the content, put your comments down below. What you guys think, any questions, what your experience with using certain nutrients and antiviral herbs to support and enhance your immune system. We're really curious to know. And if you enjoyed the content, make sure you share it with friends and family. We really appreciate it. Anything else you want to say, Evan?
Yeah, we deal with these type of issues every day, all day, helping people become more resilient. So now people are just realizing how important it really is to take good care of yourself. This just gives you more reason to not eat bad foods. This gives you more reason to go to bed on time. This gives you more reason to have healthy relationships and remove bad people from your life. So things like this really shouldn't change your life that much, but if anything, maybe it puts a spotlight on some of the sore spots of your life that you need to improve upon: the sleep, the stress, the work stress, the relationships. So please use this time to build yourself up, not beat yourself up or think negatively. Just build yourself up. That's my message.
Excellent. Anyone listening, I'll be back in a few minutes for another live Q&A session. So a lot of questions here. Love to hit them up on the backside. Evan, man, you have a great day, and we'll talk soon, man.
Same. You take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to BeyondWellnessRadio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to BeyondWellnessRadio.com.